Here, everybody should be there. And hey, Lisa. Hey, Edna.
Hi, Pablo.
Hi, guys.
So Sharon and Della, for some reason, I guess are not joining by video. I'm going to ask them if they want to do it by video, but it
They
might be.
probably don't have their makeup on. They probably,
I had to put on a lot of makeup this morning to get ready for today. There we go.
There she is.
There's my cousin. We're not
Sharon.
related. Before you all start talking, they always ask me about Andy and about her. Okay. So how you all been?
Good. How are you?
Oh, you know, tired. Can't wait till May 29th. Before I forget, let me make sure and do this here in my virtual background. There.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Now, that'll tell you what, just in case y'all didn't know that was going on. Hey, Della, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
everybody.
Della.
Hey, how are you, Lisa?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You know, Della and I went to
Yeah,
law
no
school.
makeup today. Or any
Someone
other
has
day,
a-
as a matter of fact.
Someone has a clock or what is it, a timer or a ticking bomb in their background?
Somebody driving.
A blinker?
Oh, sounds like, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Let me see.
You're
There we
right.
go.
It
There
sounded
you
like-
go.
There we
it
go.
sounded like a
Good
car.
job. It
They
is.
turned left.
Yeah.
I think it was Joshua because he just muted himself. So sorry, he's busted.
Busted.
Yeah. So have y'all done any hearings yet? Oh, by the way, it's being recorded here, this meeting, and I was going to post it up on YouTube for the forum members to see. I think there's some people that are just a little afraid to take part in these things. They're not sure what's going on. And I wanted to show them that we're all in the same boat, that we're all learning from this.
That's why I wanted to be here, so I can learn. I'm trying to learn. I sat in on a Zoom docket on one of the courts over here, just to be the fly on the wall to see how they did it and stuff. And it sounds scarier than it is. So for those of you that haven't watched one yet, it's really not that bad. I know we're old dogs. It's hard to turn new tricks, but it's not that bad.
You all know the Office of Court Administration has a website, right, for all the courts that have the YouTube videos for the hearings. Let me show you all. Let me share a screen real quick so you all can see it, and then I'll probably post it on the comments when we do this video, in case you'll ever want to go to that. And it includes our courts there, which is cool. Let me see, share. You all see it there?
Cool. Yeah.
It's the link, texascourts.gov, and then if there you start looking for the place, you'll find it. It's the Office of Court Administration, and it tells you all the courts.
Oh.
You can watch them online. So I got a hearing coming up probably in County Court 7, so I went ahead and I clicked on his, and most all the bars have it, and I saw his proceedings yesterday, so I can get used to it and learn from others. That's been very helpful. And of course, all the Court of Appeals seem to have it already too, like our 13th Court of Appeals has a channel, and I just find it too. But let me copy this, and then I'll send it to you all in the comments, so you all have it too.
And the Supreme Court has it too, as you know, because they had that lovely argument with the middle of the toilet flush in the. Y'all saw that on the news, right?
It was the U.S.
What
Supreme
happened?
Court, right?
Yeah.
Yes. What happened, Lisa? I missed that one.
Yesterday had oral arguments at the Supreme Court, but they did it like this. They did it on Zoom. In the middle of one of the counsel's arguments to the court, in the background, you could hear a toilet flush.
Yeah. That's classic. I think they were phone conferencing too. They weren't even as sophisticated as Zoom for whatever it would be. I mean, and at the same time, I don't know, here like 2 days ago, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was like, and they got a hospital bed calling in. This is amazing. I have a headache and I'm down for the day. She has like gallbladder infection and she was calling in. It's amazing.
She's a powerhouse. I love her.
Yes.
The mighty RGB.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you, Pablo, the confusion that I'm experiencing as a lawyer is that I'm getting these orders from various courts setting my matters for hearing, because of course we haven't really been to court for the last 2 months or so, and our family law stuff is stacking up. So now I'm starting to get hearings, but the orders aren't saying what kind of hearing it's going to be. It's not saying, is it going to be Zoom or live? Am I supposed to be there or what? And I'm just wondering, what do you know about them specifying on their actual notice or written order, so we know what to tell our clients and how to prepare properly. Do we show up, not show up, or?
Actually, let me say first of all, because you'll probably have done more hearings than I have. I watched County Court 7 yesterday, and I noticed the judge was preferring not to have people in the courtroom because he doesn't want to have staff in the courtroom. That's County Court 7. So I think it's specific by courts, but on the 21st, the family law section is going to have a CLE actually about do's and don'ts. And we're going to ask a survey to all judges. I have your emails in Apple County, and I'm going to ask that question, what's your practice tips, but also, what do you prefer on these? I'm assuming because of the court orders, they don't want anybody to go and appear in person. I mean, and that's just my assumption, but let me go ahead and ask and I'll let you know about the survey on that and give you the info. And if anybody else wants to chime in, please let me know. Hey,
I was
Rebecca,
just going to respond. Lisa, I know that I had a hearing in the 370th last week, and I kept asking that question, like, okay, is it going to be, and they were like, it's by Zoom. I'm like, okay, well, where's the information so I can get it to my client so they can be on? And the Friday before, it was a Monday hearing. The Friday before, they sent out an email with the code and how to get on and all that good stuff.
And Della, what did they tell you about if you had exhibits that you wanted? Did they want you to email the court reporter and opposing counsel? Some of my friends have been telling me that they've been instructed to e-file their exhibits, which is awful because now all this stuff that you don't want public record is now going to be public record. Whereas if you give it to the court reporter like a normal hearing, you would have to order the transcript and it would be an exhibit to the transcript. So not quite as easy accessible as a public record because, we deal with bank statements and all kinds, pictures of not good stuff. So you really don't want that just accessed by the general public that has a computer and can go into the search function.
Right. I know that we did have some exhibits that we wanted to show the court, but because of the way it was being done, I just chose not to submit them. We told the judge about them. He says, I want to see those at a later time, at a more appropriate time, but we just didn't submit anything.
Okay.
But before we continue, Rebecca, Melissa, and David joined us. We're recording this conversation. So David, thank you for that backdrop. I really love it. I'm sorry for
We try to help.
I'm telling you, man. And I blame Carol for the murder hornets. The murder hornets were released by Carol.
Pablo, so you said you're trying to get something together, or you're getting something from the judges, or what was it that you
Yes, I'm
mentioned?
sorry. Yeah, no, you came in the middle of the conversation. We actually already have a family law section, the first Zoom meeting last week, which led up to this one because the folks in the forum wanted to have something similar. And then during that discussion, it was a committee basically, and Katie Klein, and we all made a decision to do a CLE on the 21st of May for the family law section members. And we might open it up as the do's and don'ts about doing hearings here in the county. We're going to have, a discussion on the equipment to use because John King had some, Diana Fuentes Aguilar has some pointers about breakout rooms and other stuff like that. But Judge Rosa Arena, she was answering a lot of questions. So we're going to survey all judges and say, what are your practice tips, 2 or 3 pointers, but then ask this question that Lisa just mentioned. What do you prefer on appearances? Do you want us to have our clients there, us there, or everybody in Zoom? Because we've seen, like County Court 7 yesterday was admonishing people. It's just the clients got notices from their attorneys that there's a hearing, and the clients just went to the courthouse without us sometimes even realizing they could have done it by Zoom. Maybe that's a limitation in technology or otherwise. But May 21st at noon, we're going to send out that notice, and we might open it to everybody.
Pablo, I don't know what kind of info your surveys include, but I don't know if it's something that you can throw in about once we are able to go back in the courtroom, that it's kind of like across the board, because when everything was kind of shutting down, I had some that were through Zoom and then an in-person hearing. So it made no sense to be in court on one and then appearing by Zoom on another. So I don't know if that's something within your, contacts that we can kind of throw out there.
I will check and see. I know that they're following the Office of Court Administration and Supreme Court mandates. And I don't know if you noticed, they don't go parallel with the Office of Governor. The Supreme Court has been a bit more limiting in what they're doing. And I think they're going to have Board of Judges meetings, whether it be at the county court level or district court, before they make that decision. And my view is going to be that if we give input at that point, and when they make those decisions to be consistent, I think that's what's going to be best. But I'll ask Well, I'll follow up on that and see what's best. I mean, I know judges might see this. So let me tell you right now, I want to be very diplomatic in the way I approach them. I don't want them to think that I'm telling them how to do things. Because yeah, there's some people that might be more comfortable than others in doing.
Well, and we
Uh,
also need to take into consideration each individual's circumstances. Some of us are more at risk than others,
Right.
given our underlying issues or age and those kind of things. So while it might not be as scary for, you know, some of you young people to show up in the crowded courthouse, for some of us older people, you know, like me and David.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
You know, it's a little more scary. So
Yeah.
that, I think we need to kind of take that into consideration too.
I'm on a task force right now with the Litigation Council, Texas ABOTA, and we're getting some input from TADC and TTLA. And it's specifically addressing some of these issues across the state because there is no uniformity in the courts. We're trying to gather the information from, we're talking to our administration, so like for us, the 5th Administrative Region, to get the information that is being given out to courts as opposed to each individual court, because that's just too onerous on us, as to what are the courts within your region doing, what is your, I guess, decree or whatever, as well as the federal court. So we've been meeting on that. That's why I was asking you some of these questions, Pablo, because some of that information may be helpful. And talk to me about it too, because we have some survey questions that we're asking. But I will tell you this, where you were mentioning that some courts had started in person, some were doing Zoom hearings. There's a court, I don't know which one, but there is a court in Dallas that is not holding any hearings right now. They have shut down completely. So you have some, so there are a lot of issues. So, which was surprising to me that Dallas County would be doing that, and our courts here are holding hearings. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. What we're trying to do is get a recommendation from OCA or get the Supreme Court to do a recommendation. But I will tell you that in speaking, I didn't personally speak with him, but our chair spoke with Chief Justice Hecht. He was surprised that all courts were not having Zoom hearings because the Supreme Court purchased the licensing for Zoom for all courts across the state and set them up so they could have they just needed to set up their YouTube page so that there would be public access for everyone. And so he was surprised to hear that it wasn't happening.
And they got beyond the basic. They got like the pro account, like the several people and everything. Yeah, that's what I heard. That's good to know.
So you know, his comment was, if that's not happening, if we're not having hearings, if we're not having access to court, we need to talk to the administrative presiding judge. But really, who's going to go and do that and complain like, I don't have a hearing, they're not giving me a hearing? It's really not going to happen. So but like I said, what we're trying to do is kind of gather the information for the practitioner. That way we can at least have some place to go to look to see what the different rules are. And with the Office of Court Administration putting out that new notice that's supposed to apply starting June 1st, that may be changing as well. I do know that what was mentioned on our meeting yesterday is that one of the federal courts, I think in the Western District, already has a trial setting, and they're going to do a trial by Zoom. And so I think there has been one that has been taken, from what I've heard, one has taken place in Houston. It was, I think it was in Houston. It was a bench trial. But they're talking about having that. And San Antonio has already put out there's a proposal for jury trials, bringing in juries, and how to go forward on that. And there's some information on that. So I think whatever we can do right now, and speaking with our courts to get people on the same page would be very helpful, and in bringing in ideas across the board would be helpful as well. I did also speak with Delma, Judge Rose's coordinator, because I haven't received the information from the 5th Administrative Region. She's swamped. So I thought, well, maybe they have it, because I saw an order that she sent out in one of the cases talking about following the 5th Administrative Region regulations or rules. And what she told me was that they're kind of in the same position we are. They're receiving a lot of different information from a lot of different sources, from the 5th Administrative Region, from the OCA. So oftentimes they have a lot of influx and some confusing information as well. So perhaps some guidance for all of us, for the practitioner and for the courts as well, like everybody on the same page kind of thing, would be very helpful. Obviously from higher up than us, but
can I ask you, Rebecca?
That might be helpful. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the section of litigation. Are there like sections talking to each other, like the Council of Chairs or otherwise, about doing something like this and being also consistent within the Bar Association?
We asked that question of our the State Bar, not the director, our point person with the State Bar, with Tracy. If some of the other sections were doing it, if the criminal section was doing it, the family law, because those are the sections that we assume would be trying to do that as well. We assume that they're doing something, but we haven't heard back directly whether or not they are, because obviously this isn't, we're not putting out for the State Bar. It is in particular for this section, but every type of practitioner who, except for a transactional, would fall under the litigation section umbrella if you go to court at all. So that's why we kind of took that on. But in answer to your direct question, I don't know. I don't know if our chair has spoken with any of the other sections, and I can ask her. I'll shoot her a text or an email and ask her that, to see if she's talked to them.
Yeah, I also did invite at least one of our local directors of the State Bar Board, but I don't think the message got to the person. So I'll send this over to them, both Luis Cardenas and Allison Colvin, who are on the board, and see, that they, a link to this so that they know the discussions, and then hand it on over to whoever, makes the decision. And hopefully there'll be somebody from the Hidalgo County who will be at the president-elect position come May 29th.
That would be nice.
Oh, by the way, I'll congratulate.
Nice.
I don't know where David would be in the Brady Bunch circles here at the squares, but David actually just got appointed as the director at large to the State Bar Board of Directors.
Congratulations, David.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some of you all are muted, by the way, in case you want to. And there's actually here, let me do a reaction. There's a clapping. There we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yay!
See that? I'm done, guys. I'm going to go take a nap now. This is the most.
I would say that the State Bar obviously has low standards, but given that Pablo is still in the running, I don't want to say that, but
I lowered the bar. I lowered the bar for you as a director, man. That's what I did. Thank you, though. Just make sure you all know, Della, Joshua, and Lisa, you all are muted in case you want to be unmuted and take part in this discussion. David, you're in Houston, man. How are things over there in Harris County? I mean, are they similar in the patchwork of attendance and hearings?
Yes, I have not appeared in a state court hearing in Harris County since all this mess has happened. But it looks like, from what I've seen, it looks like it's pretty uniform in that everything is Zoom. And there's a link on each court's website that you click on, and that's how you get into the hearing. So I think that's really pretty cool. What I do have some experience in is in federal court. I've appeared at a couple of hearings in the Northern District of Oklahoma, the Northern District of Texas, and in the Southern District. And that is about as uniform as what Rebecca was describing. For us, I would have thought the feds would be very uniform, but they're not. The one in Oklahoma and in the Northern District was a different system than Zoom, and it was a lot clunkier than what we had in the Southern District yesterday with Judge Randy Crane. That was Zoom. It was very, very simple. Everybody was allowed to talk over themselves until Judge Randy, kind of came down on us. But yeah, what worries me is I still have a big docket in Hidalgo County, and so one of the concerns that I had was, even though your May 21st CLE is for the family law section. Those of us that are non-family law practitioners would like to know some of these things too, because there is no uniformity across the state. I know we're shocked at that, right? That there would not be uniformity in e-filing, that there would not be uniformity in in how a hearing is conducted. But so yeah, we're kind of on notice to expect the unexpected, and this is what we're trying to do.
We don't allow non-family law practitioners to have that information, David. I'm so sorry. This is just a rule, you know.
I'll join the section. I'll pay the dues.
Yeah. We don't believe in unity, in this unity. That's what we do. That's what we practice.
Well,
No.
you know, you were mentioning the federal courts. I have a friend who practices in El Paso. My friend Pablo knows her, Corey Harbor, and she, you know, in El Paso, a lot of them are licensed in New Mexico as well. So she was saying just the difference between El Paso and New Mexico is different, and she is still attending some stuff in person. She had a hearing last week, and she does criminal defense work or appellate work. But what she told me at their hearing in the federal courthouse is they had to go to the federal courthouse. It was by video. They were in one room. The attorneys were in one room, judges in another, prosecutors in another. So, but she had to physically go to the courthouse for that virtual hearing or video hearing. It just, everybody's doing things very differently.
But they have the green chili immunity over there, so that's why they do that.
They should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Delia Tamales down here, David. Sorry.
That's right.
It codes you.
It codes you in fat and grease and extra fat. That's what it codes you in.
My gallbladder does not like it, so I've stopped eating them a while ago. Let me just tell you, that's all I'm saying now.
Probably good.
What about other folks there? And well, Cameron County, Lisa, how are things over there? I mean, any different or the same patchwork?
Patchwork, from what I have seen. I haven't done an actual Zoom hearing yet, but County Court Number 4, Judge Sheila Benz, she was very kind, and she allowed me to basically participate in her docket the other morning as kind of a fly on the wall, sitting there and observing to see how they do things. And it was very interesting and informative. I have other Zoom hearings coming up in Cameron, and I've talked to some of my friends. And the biggest question in our line has to do with, again, this thing about evidence and exhibits and how are the courts handling them. And for example, my friend Amber had a contested temporary orders hearing in a family law case yesterday in the 404th, and they required that the hearing was what was it yesterday? Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. My days run together.
I think we're in April sometime. I don't know.
You know, it's like, anyway, they required, like, either 24 or 48 hours in advance. They required, if you had exhibits, they wanted you to both e-file your exhibits and email your exhibits to opposing counsel and the court reporter and this and that. And she's telling me this. I'm like, well, that's awful, because there's so many things in a family law case you do not want e-filed. But then on the other hand, when I was with in the Zoom hearing for Judge Benz for County Court 4, they do it that you just email the court reporter and the court clerk, or the administrator and opposing counsel. So that way the court administrator makes it available to the judge so they can see your exhibits as you go. And the court reporter, of course, can attach them to their transcript if necessary, etc. And opposing counsel can see what you're talking about, which I think is personally the better method, because then it's not clogging up our clerk's records with filings. Just like, you know, how many decades ago did we stop filing discovery responses, right? So every court's different. So I think right now it's like Rebecca was talking about, it's piecemeal, and you just got to talk to each individual court and find out how are they doing it.
Have any of them allowed a split screen to put up your exhibit, or share your screen to put up your exhibits?
Not that I saw, and I know what you're talking about, that share
Mhm.
screen thing. I would imagine that as they progress, you will. So like, let's say that I wanted to show a bank statement or a financial
Right.
statement, and I have done the proper sending it out ahead of time, and I wanted to question a witness, I could put it on the share screen and then direct the witnesses, I want you to look at this, what we got on the screen here, and look at this statement and tell me, what does it say, under here, under assets or income or whatever. I think they will go there.
Because
Actually,
the
said it on a
oh.
deposition. That's exactly how they used it. So it's pretty cool to see, except we're all trying to help. Like, no, press the other button. That didn't work, so.
Yeah, I think the concern would arise, as most of us know, when you're in the middle of a hearing, that something comes up. I may have even in a deposition, your exhibits are marked, you're ready to go, but something comes up and you need to put something else up and enter another exhibit because of whatever has been talked about. And how do you get that in if you haven't pre-marked it, if you haven't submitted it, if you haven't,
Exactly.
exchanged it? So that would be a concern for that.
I agree. And I read something about that. Pablo, maybe you can refresh my recollection. It might have been on one of the Supreme Court emergency orders or something I got from the Office of Court Administration. And it talked about sending out your exhibits, 24, 48 hours, whatever, in advance. But that in a true, what's the word I'm looking for, David? Somebody brings something up at trial you didn't expect, and so you get to question them about it because you didn't know ahead of time. What's the word that escapes me?
So sponte or what do
No,
you-
like you're listening, you're rebuttal.
There you go.
So you didn't know that you were going to
Yeah.
get into that. So in that situation, Rebecca, I think you would be able to say, now wait a minute, just out of the blue, you're testifying, we thought everybody was on the path of X, and here for the first time we're hearing Y. I happen to have a document that speaks to that, so let me email it right now and I'm going to put it up on the screen. I think that I think that would fall under the you could not have anticipated and true rebuttal type of situation, perhaps. And I read something about that in one of those orders or mandates about here's how we're going to try to do it. Oh, and by the way, County Court at Law number 4 in Cameron does have a form of of order regarding the Zoom hearings that kind of that outlines their procedures and their rules on how to do it. And so if you contact the court, either Crystal or Tanya, I forget the other girl's name. Anyway,
Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa Rocha. She can send it out to you, and so you can kind of familiarize yourself with it before you need it. So they do have it already set down in writing.
I believe that the courts in Houston have a standard order, or at least that's what I've heard. And I know San Antonio does as well. That includes that language about Zoom hearings. And it's really on an order setting hearing that it's going to be by Zoom and, that sort of thing.
Well, folks, I'm going to have to excuse myself, but I just wanted to say it was great seeing all your beautiful smiley faces, and vote for Pablo.
Good to see you, David.
See you, David.
Well, thank you, David.
He didn't leave just to flush the toilet. Apparently that's an okay thing now. So
You also might be like
since you're the host of this, I know you had to go. So do you want to close out?
No, I was hosting. I am, not David.
No, I know. And I thought you had to go at 12:30.
Oh, I didn't. David did. David
okay,
kind of did. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Now, unless my homeschooler wants to come in here and bust in with something, I think I'm okay for now.
Okay.
I was looking forward to seeing the girls if that was possible.
Anyway, I can show you one picture real quick of when we did a video for their talent show. And this is what I used as part of the video. Can you see her? This is when she went to do
I see
Paloma.
Lily. Oh,
That's Paloma. And she loves, by the way, she loves roller coasters. Don't let that look there fool you. Here, let
Lindley
me go
looks
back
a
to the
lot
flip side.
happier than Paloma.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, Lindley looks, she's like,
Lindley.
yeah.
Oh, they're thriving, man. There's something else. I'm sure you all have your own stories, you know, and your own kids at home. The only problem is that I have to actually get my own like Wi-Fi connection because like it's being hyper used here. Whoever knows what they're doing. How do y'all like the background? Rosca Reina asked me for this one for her to use. That's our office there. I asked them to send me that.
That's
We don't
That's
ever,
nice.
you know, we don't ever use those books, but we have them there because whenever a channel 4 or 5 comes around, like, can we use them? Like, yeah, sure. That's what they like, you know. And somehow your advice makes more sense with these books, even though we've never cracked them.
Legit.
I still
Right.
can't figure out how to do it.
The
I still
virtual
get,
background.
I need that background.
Go to that Zoom at the very top corner. When
Okay.
you clicked on it, zoom.us. You click on that and then preferences, click on preferences.
okay, up on the very top left, I have the little blue icon that says Zoom meeting in progress kind of thing. That?
Did you just click on it or do you have Zoom downloaded?
Oh, no, on this computer, I just put in the link that Pablo sent me.
So I think you need to have the app for it. And then through the app, you can change it there. You'll go to where it says Zoom US and then preferences, virtual backgrounds.
Can you see this screen? Can you see this screen?
I can see that screen.
Okay, if you get to this screen before you get onto your other one, this little button here, the settings in virtual background.
There you go.
There it is.
Okay.
You got all
I haven't
those.
seen that yet.
And this
Okay.
button takes you there. If on this main setting on your website, Zoom.com, you've selected a setting here to allow for virtual background. So, and this pops up on your desktop when you're going to go to a meeting, and that's
Okay.
That's right.
See, I have it on my desktop, but I have my computer guys at the office right now working on my computer. So I basically got kicked out of my own office. So I had to come home and get on my laptop and figure out how to do this. And I can't do it on my phone because I don't remember my Apple ID password.
Sharon was going to say something. Were you going to say something, Sharon?
No, I said I need a whole tutorial on how to use Zoom, like all the stuff and the screen sharing and the, you know. I mean, thus far I've had a very simple probate hearing on Zoom, no exhibits or anything like that. And that went fine, sort of, except that, you know, in probate court, you're dealing with like elderly people. And so they're not the most tech savvy. It's, you know, it's a little odd. So we had a few glitches there, just getting them on the call. But in terms of like utilizing Zoom, I mean, I'm totally
The actual
challenged.
The company has actually even a YouTube channel. I would recommend you go to their like zoom.com. Yes.
Okay.
That's really good ones about managing like waiting rooms and all this other stuff. I've used it a lot because I was telling people in the chat we did last week that you don't understand. You know, those how you have like really vivid nightmares because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
My nightmares are like in this format of Zoom. I swear, man, I've used it so much now that I dream in Zoom now. But they're easy to follow sometimes.
My question is, what are y'all doing about your clients and the witnesses? I mean,
That's a good question. How do you prep them?
Yeah. Well, how are you telling them? I mean, assuming that you can prep them over the phone or however you feel comfortable doing, but for the actual hearing, I mean, are you telling them to figure out Zoom on their own and just giving them a link and letting them log in? Or are you telling them come to your office and sit in your conference room while you sit in your office? I mean, how are y'all doing that?
I'm telling them to set up a Zoom account and then I send them a link to the meeting, but they set up their own Zoom account so they can have it wherever. Now I anticipate, that's just on the simple hearing I've had. I'm anticipating if this goes on, because I think in probate court, I don't foresee that we're going to have compromised people in guardianships and things like that show up at probate court. So to the extent that other courts maybe will transition to more live hearings, I think probate court is a whole different thing and they're going to rely heavily on video. So in those kinds of instances, then I'm kind of planning for having, for people that are challenged, coming and setting them up in separate conference rooms maybe at the office with a device, a phone, a an iPad or something, and I will link them in, and they will just be holding the device and looking into it. So I may have to invest in a few additional devices. Probably I'll buy a couple of iPads to do that. But that's how I see that it's going to be done. Because like on airships and things like that, where we have multiple witnesses, a lot of the witnesses are elderly because they knew the deceased person that was 85 years old or whatever and know the family history. I think it's going to be very difficult to ask those people to come to court. I don't think that's going to happen. And it's similarly difficult to set them up technologically because they're not set up for that. So,
okay, a harder question. How do you subpoena a hostile witness to appear to testify at your Zoom hearing?
Wouldn't you put the Zoom ID in the location instead of definitely like the address of this courthouse? You would do the Zoom ID and at what time and when to log in.
But you
Assuming
wouldn't
you know
have.
it.
I was gonna say, when will you find out the Zoom ID? You won't find out the Zoom ID until a day or two before the hearing, when the court sends it to you. So how in the world, you know, do you subpoena somebody like that? I mean, that's these are the these. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. It's like, how am I going to do this? Because I know, shockingly, in family law, your witnesses aren't always thrilled to be drug into court and testify. Who knew?
Oh, that's a very good question. And I don't know what the answer to that. I was just going to comment on Sharon's thing with your technologically challenged clients. The other thing that you can do through a Zoom hearing, you can telephone in on a Zoom hearing. You don't have to appear.
Yeah, but the judge
by
wants
video.
to see the face. So
well, I would rather see their face too, especially if you're, providing testimony.
So far, I tried that. So far, the judge wants to see the face.
Mm-hmm.
Now that may change, and in extreme instances, you might ask for leave to do that. Because in Dallas County, when I was doing probate up there, they would regularly have, telephone-in conferences, including with witnesses that were off-site. They have that court call or whatever service that they have, and they would do that. And but so far that has not been the case. Hopefully, maybe if however long this is going to drag out, that would be perfect if we could do it. If we could install, court call or something and start doing some of the hearings that way, that would be easier.
At least Judge Biggs has shown a flexibility when it comes to attorneys. They don't have to appear by video, but witnesses do.
Yeah, I want to see him.
Our challenge has been for legal service a few times with my clients, just even connectivity, like have a strong enough signal to be able to do like a video call. So I've been thinking of, maybe dropping off one of these like personal MiFi deals that I use, at their house the day of the hearing to make sure they can connect, things like that, but I can't even imagine when it takes. We talked about that too. Like if you have a jury trial, there's no way. I mean, you're gonna ever be able to do this. People don't. Even if you have to go to the courthouse and you can't go there, and you have your spacing and limiting, how upset are those attorneys? I mean, those people going to be at you for bringing them to the courthouse? You already started as a plaintiff or petitioner. You're probably in a bad position. And then, anybody over a certain age with some kind of risk liabilities, they're exempt. So you got a very kind of interesting limited pool there of jurors. That's way beyond all this.
Yeah, I'm curious, given the OCA order where it says that they anticipate that there will be summer trials, I'm curious to see what they're going to come out with, because they indicated they would put something out later this month. But we briefly touched on the issue yesterday because of the somebody saying that they were going to conduct jury trials by Zoom. My comment to that was, I think you're going to have a lot of litigation because you truly don't have a jury of your peers. Look at our area, and there are a lot of people that do not have Wi-Fi, that do not have access to computers, that don't have, somebody was saying in their areas that the only access is at work. You're not going to have your somebody going into work. Like how are you going to do that? There's privacy issues with that as well. So I anticipate that there will be a lot of issues arising from that, and we're not there yet, but it's something that's being talked about, and I think that it's something that when we're involved in these conversations, we need to raise so that it's in everybody else's minds, especially if they're not from this type of an area where we have those very, very real issues.
I'm going back to bed, guys. After all this.
I know. It just gives you a headache thinking about all these complications.
Even just the basics of getting your clients not to say stuff they're not supposed to say when you're not physically with them, you know, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
Right? How can I pinch them if they're on the video? You know, because I'll stand behind them as we're in front of the court with my arm like this, and if they start saying, "I'm pinching them," I'll start.
So I'll share with y'all that when I was having my hearing, my client was just like, we rehearsed the day before. We talked about everything. We went over everything. I had to make notes. I mean, he was ready. And then at the hearing, he just like couldn't get any of his words out. And I kept going. I was texting him like, "Hey, make sure you say this," and "Hey, talk about that," and "What about that? Did you forget?" And look awake. That was the other thing. He looked like he was falling asleep. I was having heart attacks with him. I said, next time I'm going to have my client, we're going to go to the office. We're going to do it there. So
you know, Della,
them.
You bring up an excellent point, Della, because that segues into the other problem we have of witness, and I'm not saying you were doing it, but witness coaching. Because if this is all done by Zoom and you got somebody over here and over there, and I mean, who's to say that I don't have my client in my conference room and I'm standing at the door of the conference room and you can't tell that I'm just right there and I'm feeding him notes on what to testify. I would do that, but I'm just saying, you know, but how do you prevent that?
Yeah.
When you're sitting in a courtroom, you know, the judge, the jury, whatever, they can see if you're feeding the witness answers. But in this setting, I mean, how do you invoke the rule? How do you not witness feed the answers? I mean, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, because you don't know who's sitting right next to them. Just, you can't see them in the screen, but there's somebody there, you know, telling them or writing on a pad or something. You can't control that.
Right.
What I also am afraid of, you know, maybe sometimes my clients are a bit too comfortable when there's like a family member in the audience in the courtroom. Imagine now at the house, you know, I can just hear him like, mija, or what, you know, asking questions to everybody around them. You have to be like, I have to remind them. I haven't done many hearings, but I'm like, hey, just focus here, you know, talk to the judge, look in the camera. Don't stand behind a window behind you, because then you got this dark effect going on, like you look really guilty. I mean, things like that. Just be careful. Don't put that lion tiger thing that David did. I mean, no, don't do that.
Hilarious.
Don't have your name be in El Guapo from downtown, kind of, you know, put your actual name on the screen. Something like that. You all did pretty good. You all actually have your names there. Nobody has their screen names. Their alter ego.
Well, you know, I haven't figured out how to change my background so, you know, it has the Lisa logo, the hamster at law logo. You know, haven't figured that out yet.
But you, Sam, Melissa, and other folks, have you all had hearings already yet? Or Sam just left us. There you go.
Yeah. I've had some mediations, no hearings yet. I do have a hearing. I think it's in the 206, which would be through Zoom next week. So I haven't really had to go through that yet. And so for mediation, it was pretty simple, kind of like this. The mediator sent us the link. I got my client to set it up on her end. We prepped before just to make sure she could log on. She knew how to do it and make sure everything was working. And so far, that's been working out pretty well for us.
Yeah, same. I've decided some pleas, just things like that, announcements. Everything's gone. Nothing contested that I've had or anything complicated. So fortunately, it's been pretty good. I just got kicked off the meeting a little bit ago because I was trying to get the virtual background thing, trying to figure it out. And now I got that one on there. I'm not sure how to go back, but I think I got a pretty cool one there.
It looks good, man. It looks like you're traveling, you know. Yes, people ask me, like, what are you going to do today? I'm going to go to that part of the house. And then tomorrow I'll go to that part of the house. This is not bad.
You're the newest crew member on the Starship Enterprise. I like it. Yeah.
It's Space Force. You're part of Space Force.
Yes, sir. There you go.
There you go. Actually, Melissa, I have a jury trial theoretically scheduled in August in the 206. I have no clue what I'm going to do and how I'm going to prepare for that. No clue. In August.
Wow. Yeah.
We have.
Go ahead.
No, so we have one too, like in August, was it in Singletary's employment case? And again, I mean, we're the plaintiffs. I don't know if you want to do a jury trial, you know, for plaintiffs.
Yeah, and I know some of the courts have said, because I've had some DCCs since all of this, we are doing settings, but some of the courts have said, you know, we bumped earlier trial dates because we had to, because we're not in court, and those will have priority over anything that we're setting right now. So I really don't know how that's going to work either. But I do see, I haven't seen something out from our courts locally as to what their plan is. They're supposed to submit something to, I think, the administrative region, according to that OCA order, how they anticipate handling in-person hearings, which would also, I guess, go into jury trials as well. I don't know that we have the capability to bring in people and have social distancing, and some of these courtrooms definitely don't have the capability to set jurors apart.
No, it's not set up for that at all.
No, they're smaller courtrooms, so you're kind of on top of each other. Some of the courtrooms are larger, but some of them are very small. So how do you do that and ensure safety for anybody that's appearing for jury duty? And then I think that's an issue too. Are people even going to show up? They don't show up as it is when they receive the notice. And now with this, are they really going to show up? And there's supposed to be a penalty, but there's really not a lot of penalty. And who's going to want to impose a penalty on somebody right now with this going on? I foresee a lot of issues.
The Attorney General Ken Paxton's going to step in and say, no, none of that.
Yeah.
But only if you're Caucasian. Because
right.
If you're the two Latino women in, I think it was El Paso or whatever, and
Laredo.
you get arrested, then he doesn't care about that. So.
That's why I did my own hair, by the way. That's why I did my own hair at the time. I can do that.
Was the business owner, Lisa. She wasn't even one of the hairstylists. She was a business owner, and people rented from her, so she needed her income on that.
Yeah.
So it's worse than even what the other.
The other ones, they were working. They literally were working to put food on the table.
Let me stop recording here before I lose more votes. Hold on.
You were counting on the Paxton vote. So basically, I think what we've figured out during this meeting is we know a lot less than we know. It's just, everything is just, I don't know.
I'm wondering, I think the judges would appreciate like an exchange about this discussion. So maybe we'll bring that up, through this email that I'm going to send out, if you wouldn't mind also having back and forth, and questioning what we're seeing, what we're doing. I'm sure they want to hear that too, because they're literally isolated like we are too. So I'm sure they want to hear from us, unless you're talking with colleagues, but I'll let you know how that goes. And we'll try to open up that May 21st. What month are we in? May 21st.
May. I think you can make it you should make it an all section meeting, an all member meeting. And anybody that wants to join in and listen is welcome to join in if they're a member of the bar.
Will do.
Quick question, in Cameron County, I understood some of the courts were allowing final prove-ups in divorces with no children, provided that the party signed an affidavit and just submitted everything signed. Have you heard anything about that?
Actually, okay. Melissa.
So they're still doing that.
They are. I actually kind of was one of the pioneers of that, because I'm like, how can I get around actually having to show up for a final hearing? And I'm like, all right, if I get everybody to sign off on a waiver of record and sign off on the decree and an agreement to pass and everything. So I just kind of created a form. I'm happy to send it to you, and had them and have them sign off on it in front of a notary, because it stipulates to the jurisdictional facts. Because if you think about it, if you have an agreement, then really the prove up is just for jurisdiction, and if it's not a MSA, then it's so the judge can bless it. If you have an MSA, they have to enter judgment. But anyway, if you'll send me your email, I'll be happy to send you my little form that I did, and the judges are accepting it. And I even got one of the hardest audiences, Judge Letty Lopez. I asked her, if I have this and this, will you sign off on it? And she's like, yeah, I will. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're going to avoid the final hearing by doing that.
And is there something additional that you have to include if there are children, provided it is agreed as well?
Or is it this? I don't know, but I do know that the case law, including the Texas Supremes, have said that if you have a signed MSA regarding children, that the judge doesn't really get to overstep that for a best interest requirement, because, you know, according to the Supremes, it's a done deal. So I think that it would work as well. Now, if you don't have an MSA and this is just an agreed decree where the parties agree to this and that, I'd say if you alter the form and have them swear under oath that the agreement in the proposed decree that is in the best interest of the children, blah, 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 I think they might, you know, again, they want to try to avoid having to have the in-person hearings as well and get their paperwork done, and so they can close out that case. So I think they would be they'd be amenable. So far, using that little form I did, I've gotten Judge Lopez's permission and Judge Rincones and one more, and I forget.
That's good to know. My clients are desperate to get this over and done with. So
right.
They're I'm like, let me try to figure out how we can accommodate and get them squared away. So I'll get with you on the email so you can forward that to me. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna chat you my email address right now if I can figure out how to make this work again. Okay.
If I knew how to use this better, I'd do that. this is new. I'm still
no problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This question is kind of more for Sharon, but anybody can chime in. What are you telling clients in terms of expectations of hearing dates? I'm afraid that the courts have a huge backlog of cases.
I'm honest with them.
Yeah.
I'm honest with them. I tell them everything except for muniments basically right now are stopped, and we haven't gotten any additional guidance from the court on when or if they're going to start up and how they're going to start up. So I'm just being honest. For the stuff that was in the queue that got bumped, I'm just continuing to contact the clients and, you know, just be honest with them. That's all you can do. People that are calling in now for new matters, I'm saying, okay, we can file something, but this is the deal. And I don't know when we're going to get a hearing. I would expect, you know, several months before we even like hear anything, honestly.
With, you know, the stock market crashes.
Huh?
I'm sorry, is the clerk issuing citations now, or are they still on hold?
By posting, yes, but not personal ones that I know of yet. Right. They're doing the posting, so you can, you know, do muniments and things like that. But we're gearing up, like on guardianships, you know, we're gearing everything up ready just for the court to issue an order appointing an ad litem and moving forward.
Melissa, in my cases,
on the guardianships, I'm doing waivers of citations on the notices and things like that. But
in the family law cases, they are issuing citations and issuing precepts, orders, setting temporary orders, hearings. But for the hearings in May that they're scheduling, they're Zoom hearings.
Yeah.
And after that, and before May came along, when I would have a new client or a potential new client consult, I just told them flat out, you know what, it's not going to do you any good for us to file right now. And if you are in a family situation where you're living in the same house and things aren't going great, you really don't want to be stuck in that house with this person that knows that you filed for the divorce against him or her, and that causes extra stress and tension. So I've been advising my clients to just wait to file until we knew when the system was going to get back up and running, because we're used to being able to file and have our first hearing within 2 weeks. And if there's any kind of animosity, you can generally get one of them out of the house. So, but for right now, you can't get anybody out of the house.
Yeah.
So we've been waiting.
I had an emergency hearing that Judge Garcia didn't bump. And I've been telling some clients, you know, absent an emergency, who knows when we can get it. But I've realized most of these estates, there kind of is emergency because the, you know, brokerage accounts or investment accounts, they're all tanking. And some people need to get in there and salvage what they can.
Well, I pointed that out to her where those have been the situation. I have did an additional filing, or I've gone through Gina and said, look, this is a situation we've got on this file. We need additional direction from the court. And she has gone ahead and set some of those. that have some exigent circumstances. So when that's present, I just reach out to Gina and I say, look, this is the underlying on this file. You know, what direction can the court give me? And they've been very responsive that way.
Thanks.
I have very few family law cases, and I haven't had any that are contentious right now. But has it been your experience that you're not having family law hearings? Because based on my conversations with other people, family law and criminal were the only two things that were really going forward. Is that not the same experience that you all are having here? That like, are they going forward, or are they all at a standstill as well?
I think it depends on the court. I had one that was just a status to see if we were mediating, and so the court still accommodated us because we had thought we were going to have a prove up situation. So that we were in court, and then I had another one get approved with a statement of evidence just saying that we met jurisdictional issues and all parties signed, so that we didn't have a problem with that. So we're still trying to move, I guess, what we can. Some of the other ones just have to wait until contested. But
I've had none because luckily none of my clients have been in an emergency family violence situation. And so all the other hearings that I would normally have, final hearings or whatever, they all got bumped by the courts. I mean, I said I did nothing, but the courts just bump. And I had no control over that. So
Right.
It just kicked the can down the road.
I do have a few hearings coming up next week and the week after, both here in Hidalgo and Cameron County, and they're family law cases. And I haven't heard that those are going to be bumped up to another date yet.
So are any of these contested type hearings, or hearings that would derive testimony, as opposed to just a prove up or something that would be very simple?
The one in Cameron County is actually, it's pretty contested, and it is a hearing regarding modification of custody, and so yes, that one is, and I want to say it's with Judge Rincones, but
Okay.
I need to. So I don't know if that
It'll be
court-
Zoom.
Bump?
It's going to be by Zoom. If it's in May, then it's going to be, I would bet you think it's going to be Zoom, and they're going to want you to email and or e-file whatever exhibits you're going to want to use. That's how I hear from my friends that when they've had contested hearings in Cameron, they just started in May, nothing in April, but that's how they're doing them.
Okay, so that's what I've got.
I was going to ask, there are some comments about the form that Lisa mentioned that people wanted her to email it to her. You know which form they're talking about, Lisa?
Yes.
It's in the chat. Can you email it to me? And what I'll do when I post this video, I'll put a Google form link to it in the description so people can access it too, since it seems to be pretty popular.
And again, it's just, you can just alter it as you need for whatever your purpose is, but mainly it was just to, number one, as you know, the code says that the court may dispense with the making of a record with the agreement of the parties. So it covers that, and then it covers the jurisdictional issues for a divorce. And then you can add whatever else, like if you have children and a SAPs are involved in your divorce, you can say that the parties acknowledge and stipulate that this agreement is in the best interest of the kids, blah, blah, blah. And they sign it and have it notarized, and boom.
I think David tried to join us. I'm trying to get him back in here.
Well, his name is Vote for Pablo.
That actually is Josh. David Cavillo. Could get that. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to have to send Josh a check now for that. We're actually about the hour here, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't mind at all, stop the recording here, but I want to at least the recording stop it at this point and we can continue. I can leave this room open. It's up to you all. I don't know what y'all want to do at this time.
I'm going to have to take off, but I will attend the thing on Thursday, and hopefully you'll be able to make that an all-section meeting.
I think it's like in 2 weeks, the 21st.
21st? Oh, 2 weeks.
So yeah, don't ask me how I know that.
We need it next week.
And I was going to give you a little quick kind of like, trial strategy when things are going really bad and you have to just kind of like distract people. It's like, I used to do this, like, what's that? And I'll put that on the screen and people will be like, oh, to my daughter. That's a state. And then I walk away, you know,
There
and
you
I'm
go.
done with my hearing. That's how I deal with contested matters.
That's it.
I can do
Well,
that
folks-
too, but it'll be chihuahuas, but you know.
Those were chihuahuas they were holding, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just wanted to- I found out how to change the virtual background right where it says stop video. There's a little like smaller arrow right where it says stop video, and then you can go to choose virtual background.
I'm telling you. You should get CLE credit for this, I'm telling you.
I'm telling you, we should. We should. Okay, so anybody that wants the form, I'll email it to Pablo, and then you can just contact him, and he can disseminate it. Melissa, I gave you my email address. If you want to email me directly, I can respond. And again, I don't take responsibility for typos. I do the best I can, but y'all are welcome to it.
Thank
It's-
you.
Thank
So what's
you.
good? What's going to happen right now, as soon as we end the meeting, it'll convert it into a video format, and however long that takes, I'll post it up on YouTube, and it should be up in the next hour or so. So if you send me that form, I'll do a Google form or a link to put in the description so they can have it. So within the hour, it should be on Facebook.
We're in
Okay.
YouTube.
It's my own
Oh, you're doing
channel.
on Facebook or on?
The Vote for
Well, no,
Pablo YouTube
gonna-
channel.
Yeah, you have to show me you voted for me in order to get access to it.
There you
It's
go.
A long time ago. I already voted.
I think I
too.
can do it on Facebook too, video. Thank you. On Facebook video, but I'm gonna put it on the YouTube channel and then link to that YouTube video on the Facebook forum page that we have, so y'all can see it.
Perfect.
And I just need to know, Pablo, which of your email addresses to send that info to.
PJAlmaguer@gmail. Yeah,
Okay.
again, that way I can filter it away, because if not, you're gonna get a lot of campaign stuff if you go to Vote for Pablo 2020.
Right. So Pete, which one?
PJ Almaguer.
Almaguer.
Yeah, first two initials and last name @gmail.
Okay.
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 All right.
See you
Good
all.
seeing
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good seeing
Good to see
everyone.
everyone. Good to see
Bye.
y'all.
Be well.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.